Well, hi everybody, Scott Kelby here. You probably know me as an author of a bunch of books on Photoshop and photography and stuff, but I'm not here to tell you about one of those books. I'm here to tell you about a book today that I never thought I'd be writing. It's called It's a Jesus Thing. I have to tell you the story why I wrote it, and then it'll make a little more sense. So I dropped my son off at school one day, and I'm driving a 15-minute commute from his school to my office. And for whatever reason that day, I'm started thinking about some of my friends and even family members that, you know, they're good people and they're compassionate and they're caring, but they'll be the first to tell you they have this thing missing in their life. They've got this hole inside them, and I know that that hole inside them is where Jesus goes. But they don't know that, they don't believe, and it's very, very frustrating to me because I'm very, very bad at one-on-one evangelism. In fact, I may be the world's worst at it, so I'm not even helping them. So I'm thinking, I wish there was a book that I could give them that would explain all this stuff, that would just tell them really simply, you know, all about it and what the benefits are and how it's going to change their life. And it's just very, very frustrating. I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking, you know what I wish there was? I wish there was a book like my digital photography book. I wrote this book on digital photography, and I decided to make it different than all the other photography books. I would just make it really, really simple, not real technical. I wouldn't focus on all the technical stuff that gets everybody else bogged down. I'm just going to tell them exactly how to do it, just like I'd tell a friend. That's what I need. I need a book like that, but on Jesus. And I'm thinking, yeah, that would be perfect. And then I go, oh no. I'm supposed to write that book, aren't I? It just kind of hit me like, oh no, it's up to me. Now, this is why I'm saying, oh no. I am totally unqualified to write a book like this. I haven't studied this stuff. I haven't gone to college. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a priest. I'm not a minister. I'm just an incredibly regular guy. So now I realize that I have to write this book and I'm unqualified to do it. I'm in a full panic. But then as I'm driving to work, I start thinking, well, wait a minute. I've got some friends that can help me with this. Well, there's the pastor of the church that I go to. He's an incredible communicator. He really knows this stuff. He's an absolute expert on this stuff. He's great. I know he would help me. Then I think about Dave Gales. He's the pastor of the first church that I went to and the guy that bought me my first Bible ever. And I know that he would do it. Then I think about my buddy Dave Moser, who works with me at work. He's been studying for years to be a deacon. I know all these people that are experts, and I know they'll do it. You know why I know they'll do it? Because they care about people the way I do, and they want to see them live this fulfilling life too. And I'm like, I can get these guys to help me. So I knew by the time I got to the office that I had a team on board. I knew I was going to call them and they were going to say yes, and they did, by the way, thankfully. Now, here's where I've got to work on this. I need to be able to do something different, like I did with the digital photography book. So I did a little research. There are 387,000 books on Jesus. What's going to make this book different? What's going to make it really resound with people? So I thought, and I talked to some people, what is it that turns people off about books about Jesus? Well, it's kind of this one big sticking point. If you're talking about Jesus, and you're trying to convince somebody about Jesus, you're holding up the Bible and saying, well, here's what the Bible says. If you don't believe in the Bible, you might as well be holding up a cantaloupe and saying, here's what the cantaloupe says, because it's meaningless to them. They don't believe in the Bible, so they're not going to believe what's inside it. So I realized at that point, I was going to have to write a book about Jesus that doesn't have any quotes from the Bible in the entire book. Do you know how long it takes to write a book where you can't quote the Bible and you're talking about Jesus? I can tell you, it takes about 3 years. Now, normally it takes me about 3 months, but it was really, really a challenge. But luckily, I had some really, really great people on my team. Now, so who is this book really for? Well, it's not the title, it's a Jesus thing. It's the subhead that tells you what it's really about. It's called The Book for Wanna Believers. So what is a Wanna Believer? Well, these are those people who they know they have this thing missing in their life. And maybe they've tried to fill it with different things. Maybe they've tried to fill it with alcohol, or maybe they've tried to fill it with having affairs, or with drugs, or with buying material things. And they're still looking for that thing that will finally make them happy. And so they're kind of like looking through the fence. They're kind of trying to see, you know, I see these Christians and they seem so happy and they seem to be so jazzed about this, but they just don't believe. They're curious, they're interested, and they just don't believe. And it's because that hole is missing inside them, and that's who I wrote this book for. I just want to nudge these folks along. I want to get them kind of on the path toward Jesus. And of course, the ultimate home run would be that they transform from Wanna Be-liever into Believer. Now, when I wrote the digital photography book, I did a video somewhat like this to introduce it. And I said to people, I held the book up and I said, look, if you're a professional photographer, do not buy this book. You already know this stuff. Now I'm saying it to you. If you're a Christian, don't buy this book. It's not for you, you're already on board. This book is for Wanna Believers. And I'll bet you know somebody right now that is that person, that is that Wanna Believer who has that hole missing inside of them. And you've talked to them and you've tried to get them to come to church and different things to get them on board, and they just haven't gotten there. And I'm hoping that maybe that this book that's really, really simple, that's non-religiousy, that will finally clear the fog and show them the light. And if you know someone like that, I hope you'll turn them on to It's a Jesus Thing. I also hope you turn on so many people to this that it makes it my best-selling book ever. The reason why is 100% of the profits from the book go to the Springs of Hope Orphanage in Kenya to feed, clothe, educate, and care for some very, very wonderful kids. So look for It's a Jesus Thing. It's coming to the iPad and the Kindle, and shortly after that, it'll be in print. Thanks everybody for listening.